Running to pace isn't the best way to train. It's hard to adapt if the weather changes, if it's really windy, really sunny. It can't take into account the fact that you had a bad night's sleep last night, or your legs are feeling really dead from lots of training. But do you know what's a lot better at doing that? Training to your heart rate. And so that's why this week, in week 13 of my 26-week Yorkshire Marathon block, I want to talk to you about heart rate zones, how to set them up, why they work, and what the benefit is for each zone. In a nutshell, if you take your resting heart rate and your maximum heart rate and divide it up by a percentage, then you can work out your heart rate zones as 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90% of that heart rate. I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. The key thing is that running in those different zones has a different effect on your body. It allows your body to adapt in different ways, and each one of those is important. So for example, today I've got a tempo session. I've got 3 blocks of 2K and the pace is meant to be 4:10. But instead, I'm gonna run it in my zone 4 heart rate zone, as that's where you wanna be for your tempo sessions. And this is gonna get the right training stimulus for this run. It means I'm not gonna run too slow and I'm not gonna run too fast for what I need to do. So before we move on to how to set up your heart rate zones, I'm going to get this tempo session done and I'll check in with you at the end to see how I get on.
A couple more things to note is on my race videos and on the session parts of the videos, you'll see my heart rate gauge up in the top left hand corner, and the colours actually correspond with which zone I'm in. So you've got grey for 1, blue for 2, green for 3, orange for 4 and red for 5. So you can see which heart rate zone I'm actually working in at that point, which you might find interesting or useful. The second thing I wanted to touch on is that I don't think I went into quite enough detail about why your heart rate changes depending on all these different factors. Basically, if you're tired, your running economy isn't going to be as good and your body has to work harder to move yourself forward. There's more obvious factors, like if the heat goes up, you're going to be using more energy to try and cool down your body, or if you're running up hills or into a strong wind, you're going to have to put more force through to get up to pace, and that's going to raise your heart rate. So by using heart rate over pace, rather than trying to stick to a pace and putting yourself in a position where you're not getting the right training, you can then just vary your paces a little bit and keep it to heart rate instead. I hope that makes sense, but we're going to go into a bit more detail about all the different zones in a bit.
That was a perfect example of what I was talking about. In that second rep, we hit a load of hills with a headwind. Mix that in with, I went away for the weekend with my friends to climb Snowdon, and obviously it's going to take a lot more toll on my body, so my heart rate was a lot higher than it would have been normally, which just meant I had to go a little bit slower to get the same physiological effect that I'm looking for. So I've just got to go and do my 2K cool down and then a strength session, and then into an easy run tomorrow when I'm going to talk about how to actually set up your heart rate zones. Okay, day 2 of week 13, and it's a 13K easy run today. My legs are feeling a little bit tired after yesterday's run, but that's why we take it nice and slow so the legs can recover. So how do you set these heart rate zones up? First of all, never just use the default zones that you might get on your watch. I don't know what they use to work those out, but they're all over the place. They're different from brand to brand as well. So the method I use is the heart rate reserve method. And I find that's the most accurate way of working out your heart rate zones without going and getting tested, which I'll get onto in a little bit. So for the heart rate reserve, you need your maximum heart rate and your resting heart rate. For your resting heart rate, if you wear a smartwatch, you'll probably get that from your overnight heart rate. If not, when you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, take your pulse for 20 seconds, times that by 3, it'll give you your resting heart rate. You can even do it over 3 or 4 days and take an average to make it a bit more specific. Next is your maximum heart rate, and this one's a bit tougher. You basically need to push yourself to the very limit to get your max heart rate. You can either take a recent 5K time where you went all out, or go out, do a 2K warm up, do some strides where you run for like 100 meters, about 90% effort. Do that 3 or 4 times, then find a nice steep hill that you can sprint up. Do 3 sprints up that hill, and then when you get back, see what your heart rate got up to. Now that you've got your resting heart rate and your max heart rate, the distance in between is your actually accessible heart rate. You can't go below your resting, you can't go above your maximum. So take your maximum heart rate and take your resting heart rate off of that. That gives you your working range. Now it's time to calculate your zones. So basically, zone 1 is 50 to 60% of that working range. Zone 2 is 60 to 70, and so on all the way up to zone 5. So take your zone 1, let's make it easy. Let's say, it's very unrealistic, let's say your maximum heart rate is 150, resting heart rate 50, so you've got 100 BPM to work with there. So 50% of 100 is 50. So you take that 50, add it onto your resting heart rate, that makes 100. So your zone 1 is going to start at 100. And now do the same for zone 2. So 60% of 100 is 60. Add that on to 50, that's 110. So your zone 2 is going to start at 110. Do that all the way up to zone 5. Now obviously it's not going to be as neat as that. You're not going to have those sort of numbers, but it gives you an idea of what you need to do. But this isn't the most scientific way of working out your heart rate zones. To do that, really, you need to do a lactate threshold test or a VO2 max test, or both of them combined. They cost 100 to 150 pounds. To give you an example, my zone 2 using the heart rate reserve method was about 140 BPM to 156. After doing my VO2 max test, turns out it's actually about 127 to 137. So that meant that all my slow runs, all my recovery runs were just being run way too fast, which is causing more stress on my body, not allowing me to recover as well. So if you're not sure how to work out your heart rate zone still, let me know your max and your resting heart rate in the comments and I'll reply with what you need to do. So I'm going to get the last 8K of this run done, and then I'll see you tomorrow for my interval session where we can start talking about the benefits of each different zone, what it actually does to your body. I'm going to do this in reverse order, start with zone 5 because today's an interval session, and if I do it properly, I should be spending a lot of time in zone 5. On the plan for today, we've got 3 lots of 1.2 kilometers at 405 per kilometer. We've got 4 lots of 800 meters at 355 a kilometer. Then we've got 5 lots of 400 meters at 345 a kilometer. I'll be honest, I just feel absolutely knackered this week. Probably still haven't recovered from the intense weekend, but we'll see what we can do. And either way, as long as I'm going for as much as I can, then we should be getting in that zone 5. So what I'm going to do is on each break of every set, I'm going to tell you about one of the benefits you get from running in zone 5. Oh my goodness, and my leg's tired. I didn't quite get into zone 5 in those ones, but I know I will in the next ones. That's more like a warm-up at higher intensity. The first benefit of zone 5, as you can hear, is your oxygen uptake. So it trains your body to more efficiently use oxygen in your system, which then feeds your muscles and gives them the energy they need to work. The more oxygen you can take on at this pace, the easier it is at the slower paces, and you can hold them for longer with less cost. I'm dreading this next bit, I gotta say. 4 reps of 800 meters, and then I'll give you the next benefit. Oh, completely lost count there because that was tough. I was definitely in zone 5, which we want. Now I've got to pick up again, next 400 meters. So the second benefit is it allows your heart to grow and beat much more powerfully. Your heart is a muscle, so if you're training it to beat more powerfully at these higher tempos where your heart is pumping more, then again at the slower tempos it's going to be able to pump around a lot more blood at those lower heart rates, which is going to be a lot more efficient for your running. Right, my time's up, back on with these 400s, 5 of these, and then cool down. 400s done again. That was just absolutely brutal. Normally the 400 is a bit easier because they're less than 2 minutes of running, but I think my legs are just done. So for the last benefit of training in zone 5, oh god, I've got to start running again. It's gonna be horrible. It's really hard to run at those sort of paces and not have good form. So it just teaches you to stand up tall, to keep your legs turning over, and to run more on your forefoot than on your heel. As another added benefit, it also trains you to have that extra gear at the end of the race when things start getting really tough. You already know what that feels like and you can get through it. Speaking of getting through it, got 2K cool down to do and then get to work. I got to shoot this afternoon. So I'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday and today we got a 13K easy run. My legs are absolutely done from yesterday's interval session and strength workout. So I'm trying to keep this as slow and easy as possible today. So my legs got time to recover. So I've got a bit of a beast of a long run on Sunday. So zone 4, your threshold zone. This one's going to take a little bit of explaining. So at the top of your threshold zone, you got your lactate threshold, and a very simple explanation of your lactate threshold. When your body uses energy, ATP, which is the energy currency of your muscles, a byproduct is lactic acid or lactate, and your lactate threshold is the point where your body can't flush out that lactate as quick as it's building up. So that's when you start getting those really heavy legs and it starts burning. This is like getting towards the end of your race, basically. So 2 main benefits to running in zone 4. The first is it raises your lactate threshold. So it means you can run faster before you hit that lactate threshold and start building up that lactic acid. The second is that it helps improve your lactate clearance. So basically it improves your body's system of removing that lactic acid from the blood. So it's got less chance of building up. As you can see, this is a very strong zone to run in, but it is quite tough. Not as tough as zone 5, but you're going to find it challenging. But you're going to see some great benefits from it. So moving down to zone 3, I find this one a little bit harder to talk about because it's the zone that I spend the least time training in. The problem is that most people run their easy runs too fast and move up out of zone 2, which we'll talk about tomorrow, into zone 3. And zone 3 is just a little bit too tough to fully let your body recover. It's not easy, it's comfortably hard. That being said, there are a couple of benefits of running in zone 3. And the first is that it increases your glycogen storage. When I just mentioned ATP, I'm not a scientist, so you might want to look into this a little bit further, but the 2 main sources are glycogen and oxygen, and that turns into ATP. So obviously, if you can store more glycogen in your muscles, then your body's going to be able to run for a lot further without having to take on extra carbs. So great for a marathon. Second benefit is it increases your aerobic enzyme activity. And these are the enzymes that actually help your body create the ATP. So it goes without reason, the more enzyme activity you have, the more efficient your body is going to be. So you can see there are benefits to running in zone 3, but it needs to be intentional. It can't be all your easy runs. It needs to be a specific session. It's Saturday morning and I'm not at park run this week because a lot of my run buddies, well, pretty much all of them, weren't going. So I've got a lot to do today, rebuilding a load of decking. So I thought I'd come and just get my 8K done and then get on with the day. This is the big one, zone 2, your easy zone. This is where 80% of your runs should be. If you're going by feeling, it should be where you feel like you could go all day with that sort of pace. Nice, easy breathing. You can have a full conversation. As I mentioned, the point of zone 2 is to allow your body to recover, but it also has some really key physiological benefits as well. Firstly, it improves your mitochondrial density. That's a hard word to say while you're running. Your mitochondria are the powerhouse of your cells. They are what actually produce the ATP, what we've been talking about, the fuel for your muscles. So if you can improve their density, then obviously you're going to be a lot more efficient at creating the energy in your muscles, which means you can run faster for longer. Secondly, it's good at teaching your body to use fat as a fuel source. As the paces get faster and your heart rate increases, your body starts using fat less as a fuel source and carbs more as a fuel source. So being able to teach your body to use fat more efficiently means that you're going to have more energy for longer on those longer runs. And finally, it improves your capillary density. Your capillaries, your tiny little blood veins, the small little veins that go deep into your muscles. If you can improve the density, if you can create more of them in your muscles, you're going to get more oxygen to those muscles, which means you're going to be more efficient and use energy a lot more efficiently as well. So as you can see, zone 2 is really important. Gives you recovery as well as really good adaptations as well. And this is what it means when people say building your aerobic base or your aerobic engine, because you're building up these key factors that help you go faster for longer. So that's why you want to do a lot of running in zone 2. I'm not going to lie to you, my legs are feeling like lead today, which means I'm running slower at a similar heart rate, but that's what this is all about. And I'm just hoping get this last 4k done, do a strength workout, a load of decking all day, and hope that my legs are recovered enough for my monster session tomorrow. I think I might have overdone it a bit yesterday. With hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have done that leg strength workout and then done hours worth of laying decking. The decking itself was a workout. I could have just got away with doing that and not doing the strength work. So today, just taking my dog for a walk this morning, my legs were done already. But we've got a 23k block long run to do. So within that 23k, we've got 2 blocks of 8k, 4 minutes 30 a kilometre, which I don't know how I'm feeling about right now, but it's another opportunity to practice running to heart rate instead. So really it should be a comfortably hard effort in zone 3. So I'm going to try and keep it in that band rather than running to pace. Okay, on to the final zone, zone 2, also known as the recovery zone. But this zone, you might find it quite hard to running. So you have to go really slowly, and that's going to change your running form and your running mechanics. But you should be able to get access to this zone by doing a brisk walk. Not an easy walk, you want to put a bit of pace into it, make it quite brisk. So what are the benefits of zone 1? It's one main benefit really. It gets your blood flowing, which can then help improve recovery. The more blood you've got flowing around the body, the better your body is going to recover. But on top of that, it's easy enough to not stress your body and put more load on top. So maybe if you've got a shorter run, you know, like a 5k, and you're not feeling up to it, your legs are just feeling a bit cooked, then maybe swap that and go for an hour-long brisk walk. So you're still putting some mileage in your legs, but it's not going to do you in and actually help you in the long run. So I hope I've helped you understand heart rate zones a bit more. If you've got any questions or anything like that, just let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you. And I'll see you next week when it'll be, yet again, the furthest mileage I've ever run. Oh yeah, by the way, it is 82k this week. Have a great week, everyone.